Hey, man. Nailed it that
Hey.
time. Getting good at it.
No, cool. Oh, we're on live. Yay!
Yeah.
You didn't go, ooh, 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 so I
Oh,
didn't know.
no. It's a
Oh, it's too
smooth
smooth.
transition.
That's
Fantastic.
too smooth. Cool.
How you going, buddy? All right?
Yeah, not bad. Thanksgiving, big holiday. Had a good time. So that was good. Everything went smooth.
Good. I'm glad.
How about you,
We
man?
are, what's that?
You good?
Yeah, good, man. I'm all right. I'm okay. Everything's going well. And we've got a bit of a request today from one of our viewers to have another look at the video that we uploaded a few weeks ago now, first-person view,
Oh, yeah, that
first-person
was cool.
perspective. It was actually of me doing keiko with a couple of dojo mates. Here it is here. A wee while ago now, actually, Hiro. It was a couple of years ago, but it was still a good little project. I'll give you the background before we get into it, because I think it sort of adds a little bit of context to those who haven't seen it.
Right.
So this is a GoPro that's attached to the side of my men. It took a lot of duct tape, I think, if I recall, to get it to stay. And it actually gets knocked around a little bit halfway through. You can see my mengane on the side. But what was cool about this project, it was a friend of mine from the University of Canterbury in New Zealand, your old university, actually, Hiro.
Yeah.
And he was doing a project where he wanted to use GPS, the GPS function on the technology, to see how much distance athletes travel during their training and during their competitions and stuff, right? Now, those people who know a little bit about GPS and this sort of technology will know that if you're indoors, GPS doesn't work so good, right? So the actual data that he was after didn't quite, he wasn't able to get it.
Turn out good.
No. But what was cool was that we had this thing on the top of the screen there in the corner of the screen, which was a heart rate monitor. And a few people on the original video that I uploaded the other day, a few people have asked, what was the setup? Was it a Polar, or was it some sort of thing? It was a strap around my around my chest, that was connected. Usually, if it was a consumer product, it would be connected to a wristwatch. But this one was connected to the software that he had. But as you go through, and you can see in the graph there, it sort of plays out what happens over the duration of the training. My heart rate gets really, really high towards the end. I think it gets out at about 183 or 186 or something, which, if you work it out, is pretty much the maximum heart rate that the formula allows me to have before I pop.
Pass out.
But it's also got a cool little speed dial there that shows it as well. So let's get on with it. If it's laggy, because this is a live stream, if it's laggy, I'll put the link to this video, the original video, in the bottom in the description below. But we're going to go through and talk about the things that are going through. We've got an opportunity to look at a first person. What are the semi? What are we doing? We're fighting Nito first, and then a 7th dan at the end. So those are the two things. So let's crack on, man. Let's have a look.
Cool.
Can we see this? You got it, eh? Cool. All right.
Yep. It's going.
So we start off with the mandatory kirikashi. This is after a training, though, so I was already a bit puffed.
Already your heart rate is pretty high.
Yeah, it was already sort of high before we got started. But it was still bloody cold that day. I remember my feet were really cold.
Oh, yeah. Glaciers can be very cold.
When you did Nito, Hiro, do you receive kirikashi in this way?
Probably. Yeah. Or I just I take hidari nito, left hand up. So my shoulder is left, right hand. Right. So probably I just use right hand only as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are no regulations or this way has to be done by Nito kind of thing. So
right.
It's pretty free, I think.
Right.
At the moment.
Yeah, for sure. So what happens now is we've done that little warm up, then we go into Jigeko, right? And the thing that I found with Ian is that comparatively, from the other Nito players in New Zealand in particular, he used his shoto pretty well. Often, though, it wasn't necessarily from an offensive point of view. He would use it really well from a defensive point of view. So I found it really difficult to find openings on him because he was quick to lift his hand up and block a hikiwaza or something like that. But as as we go through the fight, and like I say, hopefully it's not too laggy to watch, he was reasonably well protected men and kote. And so it only really left do and tsuki to hit. And I don't know, I always wanted to have variety. I didn't want to just go for the same old targets. And there's a bit in here. See how he goes, his left hand his shoto goes up really quickly after he strikes. So he's sort of working in a really good sync between his. See that? It goes straight up. And it was really hard to do sort of a gono-sen, sort of a nuki-waza or something like that, because he was always really well protected.
So what was your strategy against Migi Nito, right hand up?
Well, as I say, he was reasonable. To find an opening, my challenge, I always set my challenge was to try and hit his kote or his men, because it was really well. I could probably execute katatetsuki and maybe a do, or get his hand up and do a gyakudo or something like that. But I always wanted to try and hit those unhittable things, because I trained with him, 3 times a week. So we were pretty familiar with each other.
Right.
But if you look at where he's holding his daito, it's right up by the tsuba. And so he did that to protect his kote. With the tsuka stopping the point coming through, and it was reasonably effective. It also gave him a lot more control over his shinai, because I think he was using a reasonably heavy shinai. It wasn't a 37. I think he may have been using a 38 or 39. So he had a little bit more sort of weight when he would hit. Which was all sort of played into us. And what was my strategy? It was to try and capitalize on the change of distance. So now he's holding it at the end.
Yeah, he changed the grip.
He changes his grip. So I would watch that, and when he had that, I would fight close, right? Because he can't hit me with Yuko Datotsu when he's too close. So I would come in closer when his hand was at the bottom of the tsuka, and I would stay out further when his hand was at the top. And so I would just be constantly watching where his hand was on the tsuka, and that would dictate where I would stand. And that was really my only strategy, because the rest of it, he was so bloody awkward to sort of try and hit. I'll just chuck pause on that. It's, you know what I mean? So it was an interesting battle between us. It was never really ippon heavy, although he did hit me a really good one in that video, a really good one. It was never really that many ippon from either of us. It was a sort of a game on who could take advantage of the distance, and that's what happens. It wasn't that we wanted to beat each other each time. It was that we wanted to try and challenge each other each time, because, like I said, we would train 2 or 3 times a week together, and so the value wasn't in, I beat you this time and you beat me next time or whatever. Yeah. It was in trying to challenge each other's strategy. So that was kind of where we went most of the time with that. But yeah, ski and do were open. Not that they're my strongest cuts either. Mind you, neither is kote or men, to be fair. The next one, man, this is Saito Makoto Sensei. Saito Sensei is an absolute machine. As you know, you've trained with him when you were over in New Zealand, right? Super fast. He worked with the Japanese team as their physio for a little while.
Coach or physio.
Coach, in terms of, so he's and he's got a few videos out there on YouTube about how to stretch and things like that for kendo. He's an absolute machine, and he's a bloody good guy as well on a personal level. But when we were lucky enough to have him come and train with us in New Zealand, he had a sabbatical. He came over as a university professor. He came over and train with it. It was amazing to train with a 7th dan, right? The person who edited this video, unfortunately, cut out most of the fight. But what we've got is, the thing is, if you watch him and the way he uses, look how like much he's using his kensen. Like it doesn't stop. And his ability to hit you when you moved in, he was ready. Boom, he would go. Like he was such an asset for New Zealand Kendo when he was over. Such an asset. But you can see, like I'm really, all I can really do is sort of try and match his level of intensity and not get hit by him.
You're in a striking match, bro.
Yeah, well, I think all the striking happened before the bit got cut out. But you know when you fight a higher grade and it kind of changes what you want to do and what you want to achieve from the fight. I wanted quality cuts. I wanted the sensei to say, hey, that was a really quality cut. Because the other thing about Saito sensei was the use of waza. He used so many waza.
Yeah,
here we go. Here's the kakari geko, man.
Lovely.
Oh yes, this is the thing. And you know, again, you fight against a good high quality motodachi, and the kakari geko is hard. Here, 180 beats per minute. It's hard, but it flows. You know what I mean? And there it is. Yeah, man, takes me back. The you know, like it's really cool. It's really cool to sort of have a look at that. But thinking about my strategy against Nito versus the strategy against Saito sensei, because they're so different in what they require, you know, and what you want to achieve from it as well. Like I said, against Saito sensei, I really wanted to get him a good quality man. I'm trying, you know, facing against a 7th dan, right? Against Ian, we know the Nito player, we knew each other for a long time. We were much more sort of informal with the way we did it, so we were sort of trying to pick apart each other's stuff or strategies as we went. And you can see he changes the strategy where he holds his shinai. Saito sensei's approach, not necessarily his strategy, but his approach was to keep his kensen totally alive and can, you know, just execute so many different variety of waza throughout. It was just a totally different experience and massively beneficial either way, right?
How old was he back then?
Saito sensei? I don't know. Probably late 40s. A little
bit older than me, right?
Oh yeah, so late 40s, yeah, something like that. Yeah. Yeah. So, but he moves, man. He can move, eh? Even though that was a couple of years ago now, as I said. So interesting stuff to look at again. But the cool thing about that video, of course, is it's first person, but you can see that heart rate. And as we always end up doing kakari geko at the end of a fight with a sensei or something like that, it's interesting to see, you know, because it's interesting to actually see it go as high as 180 plus. Yeah. There was a slight delay in when the thing kicks in, but nonetheless, yeah, pretty high. So that's it, man. So what I'll do is I'll chuck the link to that video, because there's always a chance that it's a little bit laggy as we do a live stream. So I'll chuck it in there, but please check out that video and then maybe come back and have a look at this one again, maybe make a little bit more sense.
Right. And we'll check that video as well. So we'll see how it went.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly, man. And we'll try and do it again on another one in the future, see what's the most popular approach for us in Kendo Clinic and what we produce. So by all means, let us know if you liked it, if you hated it, what we could do differently, what we could do better. Much appreciated. And that's us. That's a wrap. Thanks, Hiro.
Thanks.
And happy Thanksgiving next week. Yeah.
No, this week, mate. It's already done.
Yeah. No, I wasn't listening. All right, man. See you later.
Yeah.